Hello, and welcome to Just in Time Learning with ADQ. I'm Monica Makedo, an assessment specialist with the Student Assessment Office. This segment is part of a series on using the Texas Assessment Management System. In this video, we're going to be looking at Excel formatting specific to high school STAR testing. Make sure you have your Excel spreadsheet you downloaded for lesson 1.4. Okay, so this video is going to show you some formatting that is specifically for high school. You should have your spreadsheet that you downloaded for lesson 1.4. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on deleting columns that do not have any information and also changing your headers. So for column B, first thing you need to turn on your filters. Before we do any changes to your spreadsheet, we do not want to get material mixed up. So column B through column E is your campus ID, your district name, your campus name, and group name. You can go ahead and delete that. So you should have your student's name. So we're going to start from column B and go all the way across and start changing headers. And as we go, we're going to change headers, shorten headers, and we're also going to delete empty columns. So column D is middle initial, then you've got your grade level, your PEIMS ID number. Next to column F and column G, we're going to insert a column because we're going to be moving your local ID number over. So insert a column. And then your new column H is sex, your date of birth. Starting from column J are your ethnicity codes. So we're going to shorten those, and it is in parentheses. So we're going to go ahead and shorten all of those. Then starting from column P is ED, economically disadvantaged, Title I, migrant, LEP indicator, bilingual code, ESL program code, special ed, GT, at risk, and CTE. Okay, so now we're over to column Z. Column Z through column AC are blank. We're going to go ahead and delete those. Highlight, right click, and delete. Column Z, your new column Z is your local student ID. I'm going to highlight column Z, click and drag over because I want to move that over behind my PEIMS number and change that header to local. Okay, we were over at column Z, which is now blank. So go ahead and delete column Z. Now to see if a column is empty, should be your filters are on, your down arrow. You can click on that down arrow. If it's blank, there is nothing there. There's no information there. So you can go ahead and delete Z and AA. Your new column Z is your end of course code. These are specific to the test that the student is enrolled to take. So you've got US, you've got BI for biology, and US is US history, BI is biology, and A1 is algebra 1. You do need to keep that. Column AA is test format. If the student is taking the test online, that information will be in this column. Even though it's blank, I do recommend you go ahead and keep this column because more than likely there will be changes. Sorry about that. Test format, and your Warren column AD is social studies. And delete AAE. Column AA through AD, is for middle school. We can delete that. Column AA is the EOC test format. And here you see there's a P or O in the column P for paper, O for online. Column AB over to column AH, delete that. On column AB, that is your test version code for EOC. Those are If they're an online tester, those are your PMPs or designated supports. You can change that. Column AC, AD, AE, you can delete those. AC all the way to the end, those should probably, they will all blank. Delete all of those. So your last column are your designated supports. That is listed in column AB. So as of right now, you do have 3 tests on the same spreadsheet. Go scroll over. We're going to resize your spreadsheet. So click on the triangle in the upper left-hand corner and double click in between 2 columns. Now you should be able to have resized it and you have all your information. But since this is high school, we are going to separate out your US history testers, your biology testers, and your Algebra 1 testers so that you have each of those on one spreadsheet. So to do that, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down here where I have it labeled. We're going to right click and we're going to make a copy of the file. So we're going to go to Move and Copy, click Move to End, and we're going to create a copy. Since you always need to keep a master roster with all that information, we're going to have 3 additional copies. So we should have a total of 4 spreadsheets. So we're going to go ahead and do that 2 more times. Move it to the end. I always say create a copy and move to the end. Then you're going to go to do the same thing again. So your first one is your master roster. You can go ahead and rename that. So you double click on the name and rename master roster. Second one, going to rename algebra. Third one is going to be biology. And the fourth one is US history. So now we're going to go over to your algebra spreadsheet. We do not need the information here for US history and biology. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that information. So make sure your filters are still turned on. You're going to go to column Z, click on the down arrow. You're going to unclick A1 because we only want to see the biology and the US history students. Then we're going to click OK. So if you look in column Z, it should say US and BI all the way down. So just to double check your work, kind of go down and check. Okay, so we're going to delete all these students because all we want are the algebra students. So there's multiple ways to do that. I'm going to go to cell A2. We're going to do this another way. We're going to go from A1, go over here. Now we're going to go Control Shift down arrow, and it goes all the way down to the bottom of your spreadsheet. Right click and say Delete Row, and click OK. Now you're going to go back up to column Z and turn your filter off, and all you should see are your Algebra 1 students who are taking the test. Do the same thing for biology. We're going to go to column Z. Now we're on the biology tab. We're going to go to column Z. Click on the down arrow. We're going to unclick BI for biology because all we want to see are the algebra and US history students. So those are the ones we're going to delete. Go to cell A2, click and drag all the way over because we want to highlight all that column. And then we're going to do Control Shift down arrow. And we'll get all that information. Right click and say Delete Row. And when it says delete, say OK. Now, in case you make a mistake, that's why you should have your master roster. Always keep a copy of your master roster. Now you're going to turn off your filter, and all you should see all the way down is BI for biology. So your last one we're going to look at is US history. We're going to go over to column AA, click on the down arrow, unclick US history, and click OK. So you should only see biology and algebra 1. You're going to highlight row 1 and then do Control Shift down arrow, highlight the whole spreadsheet that you want to delete, right click and say Delete Row. You say OK. Then don't forget to go and don't freak out. There's all your US history information is still there. Just go up to the filter and say Clear Filter, and all you should see are your students who are taking US history. So this video was going over your spreadsheet and cleaning up the data. So now you have a workable copy You have a master roster, you have students that are testing for algebra, you have your students who are testing for biology, and you have your students who are testing for U.S. history. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions concerning how to format your spreadsheets, please call ADQ.